Hey y'all, so if this is your first time here, welcome. If this is not your first time here, welcome back. But today I'm going to be talking about plant baths. Um, I am going to have, I'm going to keep several series going. As if anybody who knows me in person, I'm a very multifaceted person, so I could talk about whoever, whatever, and like we're gonna be jumping back and forth on topics. But this series, I do want to cover on plant baths or spiritual baths, spiritual plants that you could utilize in healing and cleansing or whatnot. I solely put out my content for educational purposes. This is not something that I'm doing because I'm trying to get clout. This is not something I'm trying to do because I just want attention, whatever the case is. I just noticed an increase over the years of me doing this of people needing like some kind of education or somebody helping them, somebody guiding them, somebody teaching them, somebody letting them know, hey, whatever the case is, this is how you do it. This is what this is for, whatever. I solely do this because I enjoy this. I solely do this because I love being a practitioner. I solely do this because I care about other practitioners, new practitioners, baby brujas, those who are walking into this journey and have no guidance whatsoever. It's very hard. It's very expensive. Being a spiritualist is extremely expensive. Working and communicating with spirits, knowing the right people, sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know. It can be very expensive in this community. And as somebody who worked for a priestess, like, trust me, I know, right? I really do know. So, from the bottom of my heart, I do this stuff because I solely want to put this stuff out for people to utilize and understand how to use it, what you're using it for, why you're using it. There's so much misinformation, and I say that all the time. There's so much misinformation, and I feel like a lot of people do certain things for attention, especially, I've noticed it a lot in like more like ATRs, where people kind of take advantage of these things. And, you know, I've seen some wild stuff out there. Not just false information, but abuse of power. So I, I've been practicing, occult magic, different kinds of magic for over a decade now. I've gotten into Reiki within the past decade. So I've seen, experienced not all, but a lot. And I really just enjoy educating people or putting stuff out there because I have so many people who come to me and ask me questions and ask me certain things. And I just want to put it out there because I didn't realize how many people, one, don't have money, don't have access, don't know certain things. So that's why I'm like, I'm going to start a series on plant baths so that people can learn how to do it themselves. But I will give a disclaimer before. But before I give my disclaimer, okay, I'm gonna let y'all know that your girl is on Patreon. I am a voodoo sant, practicing voodoo sant and necromancer, and I love guiding other necromancers on their journey, helping them open that door, get into it in a way where necromancy can be very unsafe to practice, but in a way where it's more educational, and I'm shining a light in a tunnel or a place of darkness. It's not necessarily that it's bad. I'm not saying anything about being negative because it is very beautiful practices depending on what cult you belong to as well. But all of them are beautiful. But it's a matter of understanding how you're able to navigate through it, your purpose in it, and why you're doing it, right? Because even me as a somebody might say a shadow worker or a necromancer, whatever. Me doing that, it's not because I'm out here putting a motherfucker in a pot or whatever the case is and cursing people. Heck, I'm not doing that, right? My sole purpose when I started to get into this journey was cleansing. I did a lot and I do a lot of cleansings for people. I break witchcraft and hexes and curses. And moving into why I'm bringing this plant, we're starting out strong today with the plants. Okay, we're starting out very strong. Was because my personal experiences that I had with these plans and with these negative experiences. I learned that being a necromancer, it doesn't mean that you're going to the graveyard to bury someone or hurt them or harm them or do something like that, right? But I learned like, oh, I have to learn what these spirits are. I have to learn what these plants are so that I can educate people, so that I can help them learn how to break curses, how to break hexes, how to remove certain spirits, how to control and contain certain spirits, and how to get themselves back into balance. Because no matter who you are, what kind of work you do, there's always going to be the balance of dark and light. Even experienced, and that's the thing, an experienced Reiki practitioner will know that if somebody comes to you, right, and you're thinking you're just doing an energy clearing session, there might come a chance, and that's happened to me before, just practicing Reiki, not even doing like a spiritual cleansing or somebody coming to me for a reading. I've had people who have come to me and they needed an exorcism because they had a spirit feeding on them. They're sick, they're foggy, they're disoriented, they don't know what's going on. And it starts off as an initial Reiki session, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing today. And then it moves into something more than what I expected. So I think one thing I'm going to also talk about, and that video will be coming out soon, is necromancy, because I do want to shine light on it, at least as far as my practices of working with the dead, my practices of removing, dark magic, black magic, brujeria, whatever the case is, anything that somebody is using negatively. I like to break it, and I like to educate people on the practices of, you know, um, of necromancy, because it's not what people assume what it to be. There are certain things that I can't go into detail about because of cult practices. Certain things are closed for a reason. And a lot of people always say they think it's because of race that practices are closed, or certain details of a practice are closed. Even working in voodoo, it has nothing, to me, it has nothing to do with your race, your ethnicity, or whatever the case is. It's the dangers, okay? It's the dangers of summoning a spirit that you have no, business working with. I have some spirits in my court that I can't, or I don't call on or unleash them, because I know what they can do. I just do certain things, certain rituals with them, certain things to appease my spirits. And I have a connection and a bond with them. So it's a reason why somebody's telling you, like, don't go in a graveyard doing this. And if you're going in a graveyard, it should be always be a reason. You shouldn't be going in there, cursing and hexing people, because people don't realize how dangerous that stuff can come into, or you can get into. But the reason why I do want to just say I'm moving into the plant bath series is because I've had so many people who have come to me asking me questions, whether they found me from my podcast. And I have a lot of people who either come from my podcast or my YouTube or my TikTok, and I'll get questions everywhere. So I'm just going to try to post this everywhere to help people, because that's what I want to do. I just want to shine light on things, especially, it gets very expensive being a spiritualist. Or like, it's not what you know, it's who you know sometimes. So I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite herbs today. And I just want to shine light, basically. That's it. So I was just drinking my cafecito today. I wasn't even going to really do any videos today, but something was telling me, like, you need to talk. You need to put this out there. And what better time than we're so close to, Halloween, Samhain, and the Day of the Dead, and Fête Gede. So I just feel like, why not? Why can't we just talk about this stuff today? We're gonna talk about it. So one of my favorite plants is Espanta Muerto. It's also known as false daisy. Okay. I'm also gonna teach you how to do a bath with it. I'm gonna tell you how to do it. I will start getting into tutorials of how to make the bath and all the other stuff, but sometimes I'm just a human being. I do the best I can. My life revolves around a lot of things, so it's hard for me to put those videos out. But at least if I talk about it, educate it, I've taught people how to do this. They can do it themselves. You do not have to be, this advanced bruja in order for you to do certain things. And I'm also going to talk about how to do the bath, how to prepare, because it is a ritual when you do these things. Now, I forage for my herbs. If I can forage and find it, I will do it. But it is getting cold where I'm at. I don't go out as often. So the dry plant is just as suffice as the fresh herb. If I can get my hands on the fresh herb, I always use the fresh herb. Especially if I'm doing like a head wash, I'm doing some kind of cleanse on somebody. I like to do fresh herbs. You can also, distill your plants, your plant baths in alcohol, and almost like how they make Florida water, right? You go put it in alcohol and just use it into a bath. If you have enough of the plant, you can do that as well. But I always feel the fresh herb is the best. Dry is just as good if you cannot get your hands on the fresh herb. So The purpose of using Espanta Muerto, I'm going to show you what it looks like. Okay, this is the ones that I typically buy. You can go to any botanica. I go to a botanica in the city. Don't go to those gentrified places. Eat meets west. No, east meets west. I think that's the name of the store. Don't go to those gentrified places, because at the end of the day, when I give my money, I'm giving it to like a little mommy and papa who's running a shop in the city. It's chickens. If it's chickens and shit running around outside, that's the botanica that you want to go to. You don't want to go to these places where everything is all gentrified. I'm very big and selective on where I give my money. When it comes to like spiritual stuff or certain items. So even when I'm like buying a product from somebody else, I want to know that I'm putting my money somewhere where somebody's going to use it. Is that in every day or every part of my life? No, but I do like to with spiritual products, right? But you can go to any botanica. You can order this even online. They have Amazon have like online botanica face fronts or whatever the case is, shop fronts, and you can get this herb. But it's Espanta Muerto. It is in English. It is known as false daisy. If you can, and I would say if you're gonna forage, please be educated in plants, because there's a lot of stuff out here you can go and try to forage your plants. Especially like the biggest thing people have been doing is like medicinal herbs for like the womb. So like Queen Anne's lace, there is a poisonous version of a plant, and then there's like I think the other one is like wild carrot and Queen Anne's lace. I think I'm saying it right. Queen Anne's lace, I believe, is poison, and wild carrot, I believe, is good. If I'm not mistaken, don't I can't remember. It's been a while. But one is good for you, one is bad. One actually is very good for what is it? Birth control. But I'm gonna talk more about herbs. I'm not gonna talk too much, and that's the thing I tend to like. I just love talking about like things, so I like will stray, but I'm gonna stay back on this path because I will talk about other herbs you can use, right? But if you're gonna forage, be smart, know what you're looking for, know what you're doing, go with somebody's experience or whatever the case is. If you question it, I just wouldn't even do it, right? It's the same with when people be hunting for or foraging for fungus. Just be smart, you know. If you know, you know. If you don't, like just it's like $6 online, so just get it online if that's the case. So Espanta Muerto is the spirit moving plant. Is also a purification plant. If you're going to use for purifying baths, I typically use this bath for myself when I have root work on me. And if you're like, Kira, why would people put root work on you? People need energy to function. I have people, since I have stepped into this community, who hate my guts. I feel like a lot of it has to do with being unhappy with what you're doing, what somebody else is doing, so they try to stop you. Since I moved into, and I'm gonna, when I talk about, spiritual communities and all this other stuff, even as a necromancer, once you start doing this work, you're going to understand that you're going to have a lot of people who are not going to like you. Okay. When you're a light worker, when you do positive things, people will try to drain your energy. So I'm always taking baths. I'm always cleansing, but that's in general, because I do that for a lot of people as well, too. But, you know, I just keep it on hand. If you have root work, okay, there's some baths that you're gonna take that are gonna be a little bit more, gentle. But if you need to remove, I would say Espanta Muerto. If you having tranquil work on you, if you having tranquils coming to you in your dream and mounting you, trying to hurt you, trying to harm you, something that is just trying to feed on you, right? You feel like you're being fed on. You have dark circles all underneath here. Your face is sinking in. Okay, there's times where I've seen people who they were very beautiful people, and then I look at them because they had work on them, and you can tell that they're a beautiful person, but it looks like something is feeding on them. The most important thing that I tell people to know how you're being fed on, when you have like in tranquil work, you have graveyard work, right? If somebody is doing in tranquil work, if they are doing black magic on you, okay? If you are buried in a graveyard, somebody's doing graveyard work on you. If you don't know what intranquils are Purgatory spirits, restless spirits, spirits that have nowhere to go, right? They never got elevated, they never crossed over, right? Um, and they're just stuck, okay? These spirits are just stuck. The reason why I am so against in tranquil work, okay, and I work with some very heavy fucking spirits, okay? I work with some heavy spirits, but the reason why I am against in tranquil work, I don't do that shit, I don't fuck with that shit, is because when people do graveyard work, right? And if you're an experienced practitioner, you know what you're doing, you know who you're summoning, you know who you're going to. I'm not going to get too much into detail about that. But if you know what you're really doing, okay, and you're trying to hurt somebody, you know who you're summoning. That's all I'm going to say. But within tranquil work, what people are doing is summoning a spirit, right? And tranquil spirits, pedophiles, murderers, abusers, people who were like fucked up people in their lifetime. They're giving your soul, your energy, right? Or they're giving the spirit permission to access your energy. And I'm gonna say this now. I know a lot of people who when they do this kind of work, or when they first step into it, or whatever the case, they're like, my ancestors would never let that. I'm so high and divinely protected and da 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 da. I'm gonna tell you now, okay? As somebody who work with some powerful spirits, as somebody who is, in occult practices, somebody who's in occult, it doesn't matter how much protection you got. It doesn't matter who you work with, okay? You will experience something from time to time, okay? When you're being initiated, when you're going into certain practices, you're going to experience something time to time. And I'm only educating or putting this stuff out there because it's not always going to be a time where you're just always going to be clean. But it's good to be educated and to know the reason why, okay? You are unclean. How do you know you're unclean? How do you get yourself clean again, right? So, like signs that you are under attack or that you have a spirit feeding on you, right? Um, Signs you can look out for that you will know. I will always say this too, right? If you have money or you have resources and you know somebody, like a curandera or a curandero or whatever practice you come from, a tata, yaya. If you know somebody, okay, go to them first and get yourself cleaned. I will use that as a disclaimer. I would say do your own plant bath. If this is like you have no resources, you have no access, you don't have a lot of money, okay? The only reason why I say is go to somebody else to get you clean is because typically that work will be a little bit stronger. This plant bath is just enough to get your head cleansed, or not even, yeah, to get yourself cleansed and clear. Okay. So there is a possibility you might have to repeat this. I would say do it for, if you're really like feeling fucked up, do it for 3 days in a row. But like I said, I just like to bring education to people who don't have resources, because not all of us have hundreds or sometimes even thousands of dollars to get any bowl or to get a cleansing, some of us don't have it. There was times where I definitely didn't have it, and I just learned how to utilize the plants because the plants helped me. And then it wasn't until I got a little bit stronger in my practice, or I had a little bit of experience under my belt, that I was able to utilize certain things and do it on my own, where I don't have to go to somebody. I've only been to a few people. I can count on like one hand how many times I went to somebody else, but the times that I needed to go to someone else, I went to someone else, and it was because I had to, right? I'm talking about full blown fucking exorcisms where it was, I look like that girl from the movie, from the Exorcist movie, because I was so sick, like just vomiting everywhere, because of the spiritual stuff that I had on me. But that's why I'm saying, like, if you can go to somebody, go to somebody else. Go to somebody who could cleanse you. Don't go to an experienced friend who y'all just looking shit up online trying to do it. No, maybe go to somebody who know what they're doing. All right. But if you're like, I need to get clean, I need to know this, I want to do this myself, you can for fucking sure do this yourself. Don't ever let nobody think that you can't do it, or you have to go see. If you can see somebody, if you could pay somebody, cool, great. If you can't, that's why you're here, right? That's why I'm teaching you. So, Espanta Muerto. When you having tranquil work on you, you're usually, at this time, you're usually feeling a knot right at this lump right here, this little, we get that because we're always like a little shrimp we're always on our computers up like a little shrimp. When you start feeling a knot right here, and it feels so sore and tender, and sometimes if I'm around somebody who is sick and who hasn't tranquil work on them, it'll feel like this, like it's contracting, right? That little, it'll be so bad. It'll hurt so bad. Like, and that's the thing. It'll just feel like you have back problems, and anything that you're doing, nothing is helping. Nothing is helping you get this little knot that you have back here good again. It just feels like something almost is like giving you're like, that's how I also like to describe in tranquil spirits, right? It's like you're, it's something give like it's like a piggyback, like something's just on your back, just going for a ride, right? That's why people say it's the witch riding your back, because that's exactly what it is. It's a spirit, and it's just riding your back. But you'll feel it feels like a hard knot right here, right? Just right. I don't even know if y'all can see where I'm pointing, but like right here, the back of your neck. If you know what I'm talking about, then you know, right? But there's also other signs in your dreams. Sometimes you can't dream. Sometimes you can't sleep. Um, I have a sense where I can smell things. I have a very sensitive, like very sensitive sense of smell. I'm talking about very sensitive. It'll smell like uh, death or dead meat, or like something rotten just walking around. That's how you know you have an intrinsic spirit just walking around, right? Um, if you're not dreaming, you're not sleeping, or if you're sleeping, right? They usually feed on fear. So things that happened to you in the past, right? And it's a trigger warning, okay? But if you are getting abused, I'm not going to say what kind of abuse, but if you're getting abused in your dreams, if you're getting hurt in your dreams, if you're having people hold you down and do things that you do not consent to in your dreams, that is typically root work. That is magic somebody's putting on you. That is, an intrinsic spirit feeding on you, right? Sometimes it might be more than one. Um, the longer it sits on you, the worse the symptoms get. But like I said, if your skin is starting to act up, I'm talking about like bumps and stuff on your skin, and it's not that time of the month, or you've been eating really well and all of a sudden that is starting to happen. Your eyes are sunken in, okay? You look very skeletal in your features. You know, you have really bad dark circles, okay? And mine's are just hereditary, okay? Mine's are hereditary. I have hereditary dark circles, okay? Um, and it's not hereditary, it's not something that you always have, then yes, that is, you know what I mean? That is, we got to get it off. You got to get yourself clean at that point. There's so many other signs, right? Because then I could talk about the money and all this other stuff, but then we'll start talking about other things. You're going to take your bath, your plant bath. I'm going to show you what it looks like on the inside, because I do have people who never a day in their life never took a spiritual bath. And I'm not about to shame you. I'm not about to make you feel bad. I'm about to put you on game, right? I'm about to put you on game. I'm about to show you what it looked like. Although I'm not going to put the whole bath and construct it together, because I just don't have time. Like, I don't even have the technology to do all that. I just usually do it on my phone when I show people. But yeah. This is what it looks like. It's just like a bunch of dry herbs inside of here. It smells really good too. Okay, so you take your herbs. All right, it's your dry herbs. You take the whole thing and you put it in a gigantic pot. I put it in a giant pot. If you can use spring water, that's great. Filtered water, okay. If you're like, I don't got all that and I have to use tap water, then use the tap water, right? If that's what you use, what you got. The spirits don't care. Just use what you got. So you bring it to a light simmer, kind of like you're steeping tea, right? So you got in that pot, you got it steeping. You don't want it to come to like a full blown boil, but you want to extract all the juices out. And then I usually let it sit for about an hour or whatever on the stove. I let it cool down. Just take the cover off and let the steam out. Let it sit for about an hour. After I let it sit for about an hour, I have like a big gigantic, it's like a big bowl like this. I got it from like one of them Asian markets. And that's where I do all my baths at. When I'm preparing for somebody, whatever the case is, if I'm preparing for myself, I put everything in that big ass bowl. And I put the the steeped Espanta Muerto water in it, right? This is literally, it says spirit remover. That's what it's doing, is removing the spirit, all right? Then I take cascarilla, okay? If you don't know what cascarilla is eggshell. It's literally ground up eggshell. If you want to make your own cascarilla powder, you can. You'll just need like a processor that can get it very, 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 very fine. Because when this break off, it's like chalk. You don't need to use a full thing. I usually use about a quarter of Espanta Muerto. I do not buy Florida water. I make my own, okay? You can go to a botanica and buy Florida water. If you do not know how to make Florida water, that is okay. If you make your own Florida water, great. But this is, I make my own. All right, I make my own. I let it sit. If you got Florida water, if you know that you make your own, cool. If you're like, I don't have it because I don't know how to do it yet, that's perfectly fine. Go and buy the Florida water at, at the store, at the Botanica. I take some Florida water. I want to say I take about maybe this much. What is this, like a cup? A cup full of Florida water, and then I put it inside of that bath. That bath is going to look a little bit low at that point. So if you got like a gallon of spring water, you can use it and dilute the bath in that, okay? I've always noticed a difference in cold baths versus the hot, like if it's just a room temperature. Is every spiritualist going to tell you this? No. This is just something that I notice as a difference. When I take one that's colder, I notice the spirits do not like it and they're ready to hop the fuck off, okay? They're ready to go. They don't like that. So I usually put ice in it to make it cold, right? To make a cold bath. This is best performed outside. Reason being, okay, if you don't know anything about Kendoki, if you don't know anything about trapping spirits, if you don't know how to put a spirit in a pot or whatever the case is, when you are doing a spiritual attachment removal, okay, and if you're not a Reiki practitioner or you're not somebody who could either transmute it or elevate it or cross it or whatever the case is, right? If you don't have any spirits that are in the graveyard that can take the spirit back, right? And that's the thing, it gets a little bit more advanced. That's why I said if you can go to somebody, yes, you can go to somebody, all right? But we're not talking about trapping spirits. We're not talking about doing that stuff today. We're not. I work with certain spirits so that when something happens like that, okay, when somebody comes to me for a cleansing, they're taking the spirit back with them. They're removing the spirit, or I'm trapping the spirit, right? And then I discard it. And I take it to where it needs to be, because you don't need to be feeding on people, right? If the reason why I'm saying do it outside, do it by a tree, okay? Go to a park, go to an outside setting, go wherever you can go. And if you're like a park, I have done this stuff in broad daylight, okay, at a park because somebody needed it that bad, all right? I don't advise you to do this in your house. Okay, otherwise you'll have a spirit walking around in your house that you don't want there. It'll be off your body, right? But it'll be only a matter of time before that shit mounts on you again. Okay, until you get yourself dirty and it mounts on you. They're opportunistic spirits, so they will feed on you, given the opportunity to. So take that bath, okay? If you can just put it in a jug, put it in a jug, and if you can go outside to a park by a tree, bring offerings to the tree. Ask the tree to please absorb whatever negative energy it is that's on you, whatever the case is, because once you cast that spirit off your body, it's going to jump off, but where is it going to go, right? So if you're doing it in your house, all that spirit is going to do is jump off of your body and go walk right into your house, okay? Especially if you don't have no wards up, you don't have, this stuff that's why I talk about it being very dangerous spiritually. It can be, okay? Especially when you're not educated about these things. It took me a very long time to understand certain concepts, to be able to, and that's the thing. I didn't have anybody who was like, here, just take this book, understand, learn, read it, and this is it. I had to learn everything by myself. I had to learn, like, oh, this is what happens to the spirit when it gets, when it jumps off of you. Oh, this is what happened if you don't protect yourself. This is what happened if you do it in your house. This is what I had to learn that stuff the hard way. So when that spirit jumps off of you, if you're at a park, it's not going to follow you back home because you gave the offering to the tree, right? I do it at the base of the tree. So do it at the base of the tree. I give offerings, incense, alcohol, tobacco, cigars, whatever the case is. Don't light a cigar or don't light anything if you're just going to leave it. I just usually will, blow it or whatever the case is and put it out and just leave the cigar there for the tree. For the tree spirits, technically, because that's what it is. It's the spirits of the tree that are helping. It's the energy of the tree. It's not, you know, nobody else. It's a teamwork, right? It's teamwork when you're doing this stuff, right? So go to a park. If you don't have a park around you that you can go, just be outside. Don't do that shit in your house. Oh, I'm sorry. Don't do that stuff in your house. If you do that stuff in your house, then you know, then you just got stuff walking around your house. Go to the tree. Leave the offerings. Take your bath. Most importantly, start at your feet. Make sure you get your feet wet. When it's cold, that spirit is not gonna like the coldness of that bath. It's gonna be feeling like you want to stop. That's the most important thing, is that you don't stop. The spirit is not going to want you to continue to get that bath. It hates the cold. It hates the feeling of it. It hates the spirits of the plant, of the Espanta Muerto. That is, removing it, extracting it from your auric field, because that's what it is. It's just your auric field has been broken, it's been penetrated, and that spirit is just living in that realm, whatever astral realm, whatever spiritual realm it's in. After you take that bath and you're splashing your feet, you want to get up, Most important thing, you get the back of your neck and then dump it over your head, okay? Dump it over your head. Stay by the tree if you can, like with your body pressed up against it, holding on to it, because when it's ready to go, that thing, you're going to feel it. It almost feels like a shake and like a release when it's gone, right? And then when it's gone, I recommend when you go home, leave the bath on. Even if you just leave it on for overnight, it doesn't have to be 24 hours, but I would say 24 hours to, or just until you sleep, until 24 hours or whatever the case is. After you wake up in the morning, make sure you go to bed in all white. When you wake up in the morning, wash with a white soap. Okay. And I promise you feel 1,000 times better. Now, I don't want to hold y'all too much, right, on this, because if you're like, I felt great for about a week and then I started getting sick again, all right, obviously that means somebody is working you, and then that's going to be a whole nother video within itself, right? But I'm just going to talk about the plant and the magic of it and how to do the bath. So that's how you will do that bath. I will also recommend, right, you changing your bed sheets. I will also recommend you opening the doors and the windows and smudging your house. A charcoal disc and copal. Putting copal on top and removing it. Some people don't understand. Palo Santo is not going to get rid of an intrinsic spirit. That spirit is going to be looking at you like this while you walking around your house with that little stick thinking you're doing something. I'm sorry, that's just not going to work. You need something stronger, okay? So white copal, resin will help with that. Some people ask me about sage. But we all know, okay, and I am Arawak. I am Native American. Stay away from the indigenous plants, because people are, making them become endangered. They are sacred. They are used for sacred practices. You do not need to use white sage to smudge your house, to cleanse your house, to purify your house. You don't need to use white sage. You can use so many other things. And I think copal resin is one of the best, okay, to be able to get something out. You can even use like myrrh or frankincense to purify your house, but make sure you open everything up and get it out. You can say a prayer, whatever it is, to get that stuff out. But Espanta Muerto is a very good plant that you can use to be able to get in tranquil spirits, get heavier spirits, right, off of you, anything that's feeding on you. With that being said, I definitely went over more than what I thought I was going to go over, but hey, it is what it is. Whoever needs this information is going to find them. It's out here. It exists for you. But with that being said, I just want y'all to know how much I love you and appreciate you. Thank you for joining and visiting. I hope, that y'all decide to stay. As before, I'll talk to y'all soon. I have a Patreon. I do one-on-one sessions. Those, but I will say the Patreon is more so when you starting to get ready to do voodoo, when you starting to get ready to do certain practices, when you starting to be a necromancer. That's typically when it's like people are ready to like hop on ship, right? Because that's where I'm taking you. Take you on a trip to hell, baby, and we going full fledged right into it. Um, so a lot of people think, when I'm doing certain things, or when they come to the Patreon, or when they come to, we're talking about the dead, we're talking about necromancy. We're already on the trip to hell, okay? So I can take you to hell and get you to wherever you need to be. Teach you a lot of stuff, educate you, but at this point we're ready to practice. We're ready to practice. We're ready to heal. We're ready to venerate. We are ready to do a lot of things, but it's never anything light. It's no love readings. No, it's none of that. It's education and preparation into your journey. But with that being said, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for joining me. I will be talking more about Santa Muerte as well, so don't think that I just kind of jumped off and ventured off into something else. I did not. But yeah, I'll talk to y'all soon. And thank y'all for taking the time to be here with your girl. I love y'all.